Have you ever wondered how disinformation campaigns can influence international politics? Imagine a battlefield not marked by trenches or explosions, but by the subtle manipulation of information, where the weapons are not bullets or bombs, but narratives crafted to sow discord and confusion. This is the invisible war, and it's happening right now from the comfort of our screens. In the Francophone Sahel region of Africa, a Russian disinformation campaign is at play, aimed at destabilizing democratically elected governments. The soldiers in this covert war are not uniformed, but they are just as organized and lethal. Pro-Russian fake news sites on YouTube, social media groups on Facebook, and local influencers using WhatsApp and Telegram are all part of this orchestrated effort. But this is not a one-sided battle. Enter Percepto, an Israeli company hired to combat local political adversaries. Their mission? To protect the integrity of information in an age where truth is increasingly hard to discern. During their work in the region, they stumbled upon the extensive Russian disinformation campaign. What they found was a wide-ranging effort to destabilize Burkina Faso and neighboring governments. This invisible war is more than a game of shadows. It is a direct assault on the democratic fabric of these nations, with the potential to reshape their political landscapes. It's a war that is fought in the digital realm, but has real-world consequences. As we dive deeper into this story, you'll see how this invisible war is waged and the impact it has on the people and politics of the region. So stay with us, because what you're about to discover might change the way you see the world. As we dive deeper, you will see how this invisible war has real-world consequences. In the world of politics, a whisper can cause a storm. In the heart of Francophone Africa, the echoes of such whispers have stirred a political tempest. 5 former French colonies, including Burkina Faso, have been caught in this storm, experiencing significant political upheaval. This turmoil is not a mere chance, but a consequence of a meticulously orchestrated disinformation campaign. The invisible puppeteers of this storm are not just local political adversaries or Islamic extremists. The plot thickens with the involvement of a foreign power, Russia. The aim? To destabilize democratically elected governments and pave the way for pro-Russian leadership. 2 of these 5 nations, Mali and Burkina Faso, are now ruled by overtly pro-Russian leaders. In Niger, a prime minister installed after a coup promptly met with the Russian ambassador. These events signify a critical shift in the political landscape. The once French-dominated region is now experiencing a growing Russian influence. French troops, once a common sight in Mali and the Central African Republic, have been replaced with Russian mercenaries. These changes are not just political reshuffles, they are strategic maneuvers in a grand geopolitical chess game. The quiet yet potent force behind these changes is a disinformation campaign, a war fought not with bullets and bombs, but with fake news and propaganda. The battleground is not a physical terrain, but the digital landscape of social media platforms and online communities. This is a war that doesn't sleep. It's around-the-clock information warfare that shapes international politics, silently swaying public opinion and steering the course of nations. The fallout of this war in Francophone Africa is a glaring testament to the power of disinformation. The rise of pro-Russian leaders signals a shift in the balance of power in the region. The whispers of disinformation have indeed brewed a storm, and amidst this storm, the political landscape of Francophone Africa is being redrawn. In the digital age, deception is a booming business. A stark truth that has emerged from the shadows of the internet. We now find ourselves in an era where disinformation is not just a tool wielded by nations, but a lucrative industry for those willing to peddle in falsehoods and manipulation. Meta, the parent company of social media giants like Facebook and Instagram, has been at the forefront of detecting these clandestine operations. Since 2017, they've unearthed more than 200 covert influence campaigns across 68 countries. A startling revelation that underscores the widespread and pervasive nature of this digital deception. In the midst of this, we see players like Percepto, an Israeli company that found itself embroiled in the midst of an information war in Francophone Africa. Initially hired to tackle local political adversaries and Islamic extremists, Percepto soon found itself unmasking a Russian disinformation campaign with far-reaching implications. Their role in this digital battlefield was not just to observe and report. No, they found themselves urging the government of Burkina Faso to counteract the disinformation onslaught they were under. They understood the power of these campaigns, the potential they held to destabilize governments and shift the balance of power. But the business of deception is not a simple one. It requires a nuanced understanding of the platforms being used, the audiences being targeted, and the narratives being constructed. It demands an ability to create and maintain deep avatars, fictional personas with extensive backstories that can infiltrate online communities and influence discussions from within. This is the world we live in today, where information is a weapon and the internet is the battlefield. Companies like Percepto find themselves on the front lines, battling not just for their clients, but for the very integrity of our digital discourse. The battlefields have shifted from the physical to the digital world, and as we continue to grapple with the implications of this shift, we must also confront the reality of this booming industry of deception and ask ourselves, how do we fight back? In the world of deception, a lie can be more convincing than the truth. Nowhere is this more evident than in the case of Percepto's deft use of a fictional persona to infiltrate pro-Russian Facebook and WhatsApp groups. This was not just any ordinary persona, it was a carefully crafted avatar of a budding activist, a character that resonated with the group's ideologies. This persona was not just a passive observer, but an active participant in the groups, posting pro-Russian content, engaging with local users, and voicing strong interest in Pan-Africanism and Russian support. Understandably, you might be asking, why go to such lengths? Well, the answer lies in the power of influence. By being part of the group, the persona could shape conversations, sway opinions, and subtly promote certain narratives. This is the art of infiltration, where the infiltrator becomes one with the crowd, unnoticed yet influential. But this wasn't a one-off tactic. Companies like Percepto often employ highly tailored deception strategies, creating deep avatars with extensive backstories. These personas are designed to be as real as possible, capable of engaging with online communities and influencing discussions. While the idea of a fictional persona might sound like something straight out of a spy novel, it's a stark reality in today's information warfare. These personas have become tools, weapons even, in the hands of skilled operators. They are used to shape public opinion, stir emotions, and in some cases even incite action. But remember, this is not a game. The stakes are high and the consequences are real. In Burkina Faso, for instance, a well-executed disinformation campaign contributed to a political upheaval. So, while we may marvel at the sophistication of these operations, it's crucial to remember their potential impact. In the hands of a skilled operator, an avatar can be a powerful weapon. This is the art of infiltration, where deception can shape reality. Disinformation campaigns are not confined to one nation. Indeed, these campaigns are a global phenomenon. The US military, for instance, has orchestrated networks of deceptive social media accounts. Their aim? To wield influence and shape narratives that serve their interests. Across the Atlantic, the French military hasn't been idle either. In the Sahel region, they've spearheaded covert online operations. The goal? To maintain their sphere of influence in their former colonies. This is the new frontier of warfare, where battles are fought not with bullets but with bytes. It's a world where truth is the first casualty and influence is the ultimate prize. It's a world where nations vie for dominance, not on physical terrain, but on the virtual battleground that is social media. And it's not just the superpowers playing this game. Smaller nations, non-state actors, even corporations are joining the fray, each with their own agenda. In this grand global chessboard, every move, every post, every tweet could be a calculated play for power. In the game of geopolitics, every nation has its pawns. In the face of disinformation, how do we discern the truth? This is a question that has become increasingly relevant in our interconnected world. Countering disinformation campaigns is no small task. The complexity lies not just in identifying these campaigns, but also in effectively neutralizing their impact. The challenges are manifold, from the speed at which disinformation can spread to the ease with which it can be disguised, from the global reach of these campaigns to the difficulty in tracing their origins. It's a game of shadows where the line between fact and fiction is often blurred. And then there's the question of regulation. Who should be responsible for monitoring and controlling the spread of disinformation? How do we balance the need for regulation with the right to freedom of speech? The lack of a consensus here only exacerbates the problem. Social media companies, given their role as the primary platforms for these campaigns, bear a significant responsibility. They are often the first line of defense, tasked with detecting and disabling clandestine influence operations. But it's a task easier said than done. As the world becomes more interconnected, the need for regulation becomes more urgent. The stakes are high, and the battlefield is constantly evolving. The fight against disinformation is not just about truth, it's about preserving the integrity of our democratic processes. In the vacuum of instability, opportunity arises. This couldn't be more true in the case of Russia's expanding influence in Africa. As political instability rocked the region, Russia saw an opportunity and pounced. Utilizing the power of disinformation, they've managed to sway public opinion, fostering an anti-French sentiment that served to further their own interests. This isn't a game of chance, but a carefully orchestrated campaign. Russia, leveraging its prowess in information warfare, has strategically positioned itself to fill the void left by the dwindling French influence. The result? An increase in pro-Russian sentiments and leaders across several African nations. In Mali and the Central African Republic, Russian mercenaries have replaced French troops. In Niger, the Prime Minister, installed after a coup, has met with the Russian ambassador, signaling a clear shift in alliances. This is no coincidence, but a manifestation of Russia's well-executed disinformation campaign. Yet, it's important to remember that Russia isn't the only player in this game. Influence operations are a global phenomenon, with nations vying for power on the world stage. But the story of Russia in Africa serves as a stark reminder of the potency of disinformation. As we have seen, information is power, and those who control it can shape the world.